Hi, take a shot every time I say balls. Andrew, and this is Gayties Toys. This shirt is actually covered in wine stains, and that's the kind of class I bring to YouTube. Today on MIA 80s Ladies, we're going to be talking about Freakella from 1985's Madballs. It's a character that you might be thinking, who? And you'd be correct. But the question to really keep in the back of your mind is why? Madballs came out in 1985. They were these foam, gross out, toilet humor kind of, just balls. They weren't terribly bouncy, but they were very gimmicky. They came out from American Greetings, which is probably more known for Care Bears, Strawberry Shortcake, Get Along Gang. A lot of franchises that are probably more geared towards girls, but are very generally, considered kind of gender neutral in the sense that a lot of boys have and did watch the cartoons when they came out. The Madballs toys were made by Amtoy, which is basically a subsidiary of American Greetings, and it definitely took their whole, market share into the boys' realm, which was, I think, very smart of them to sort of, definitely branch out. Largely because a lot of the money they made were from greeting cards, were from wrapping paper, was from, cake pans, everything but the toys. There was a lot of market in, including cartoons. However, with Madballs, it's a bit of a weird duck there. Madballs themselves were such an unexpected shot in the arm in the mid-80s. I adored them, particularly Oculus Orbis. He was a very simple, bloodshot eyeball, but he spoke to me, still does. Likewise, there was, Screaming Mimi, the screaming baseball. There was the Bash Brains. There was true horror and gore, like eyeballs hanging out. This was like kind of adult and dangerous, and a lot of the reason that a lot of parents groups did really react poorly to, say, Madballs or the Garbage Pail Kids. It was, it was too much for their 80s sensibilities. For good or ill, this was also a harbinger of things to come. This was around the time of Problem Child, Ernest, Police Academy, likewise the Garbage Pail Kids. A lot of gross out toilet humor that was objectively and uncontroversially bad. There's a reason we don't talk about it. It's bad. Likewise, the parents of the time thought it was very bad. There was an incredible amount of pearl clutching around, Madballs and all these, this whole phenomenon. So it's a very much a moment in time, but a very fond moment of time for, kids of a certain age. As fun as balls are, action figures was the name of the game in 1985, and Madballs did eventually create a line of action figures called head poppers, or head popping action figures, where the balls were envisioned as heads of bodies that were, reimagined to, be what if they had bodies, and what if those bodies were gross or grosser than the original balls themselves. So, very interesting line. It was very much very up my alley too. I was all on board with that. It came with about, let's say, a wave and a half of figures, plus a very large, weird, awkward motorcycle slash hoops slash catapult vehicle. Very bizarre, but we'll get back to this a little later. By all accounts, Madballs was a success. The toys, the wrapping paper, the greeting cards, all the merch that, the Care Bears enjoyed, Madballs likewise did too. However, Care Bears did enjoy a cartoon series, a very long-standing one. So Madballs tried to get on that, very unsuccessfully. They instead released 2 home videos. The first was in 1986, called Return to Orb. This is where Freakella comes from. It's clearly a pilot for a larger series. It's very kind of paint by numbers, where you introduce the larger cast. There's, your Madballs, who were kind of this like renegade rebel rock band who, play music in spite of the bad balls who have banned fun, of any kind on their homeworld of Orb. They eventually get caught in essentially a speakeasy, which is weird to see in a cartoon, and they escape off-world and make their way to Earth because apparently rock bands are, cool there at the time, I suppose. For our purposes, there's actually 2 women in this cast. A third if you count some, kid sister who really brings nothing to the plot. For the Madballs, they actually gender-bent Dustbrain. They ended up calling her Dusty, or Dusty Dustbrain. And she was, a mummy. You get it? This was the only time this ever happened in the entire franchise. It was a strange choice. Put a pin in her, though. Today's main attraction, however, is Frekella, and she was, by all accounts, the star of this pilot episode. We sort of first meet her, really, She is easily the one with the most lines, the most screen time. She is seemingly the girlfriend of their leader, Screaming Mimi, but nevertheless, she's the one who really kind of calls the shots. She also has this, incredible temper. Whenever someone calls her a mophead, which I find odd, but she loses it and goes full Miss Piggy. Likewise, she has sort of, purple skin, legs like all of them do for reasons that are unclear, and kind of a Bride of Frankenstein hairdo that first is very long. Originally in the series, by the last end of the episode, she kind of, has it more spiked up. I'm not sure if that was the intention moving forward had the cartoon continued, but, she's got a very horror vibe, we'll say. In this cartoon, she was voiced by Cree Summer. However, in the next cartoon that was direct-to-video as well in 1987, Gross Jokes, she was replaced by a different actress. And this is what confuses me, because if you have Cree Summer available and you don't continue using her, I don't know what we're doing here. Do you think I would want to be voiced by me? If I had Cree Summer as an option, doing this, I would do that. Gross Jokes is not a pilot. It's also unclear of who it was for. I didn't know then, I don't know now. You have to bear in mind that the term tween did not yet exist in, the zeitgeist of, the 80s culture. There was children, and then there were teenagers, and there was that weird awkward phase that no one really liked to talk about, that we now consider tweens, but at the time didn't really exist. I feel like this comedy special was for that. This was, very much in that earnest Police Academy kind of just crappy comedy. It was a lot of bad jokes with bad punchlines. However, it was also a lot of homages to Monty Python. A lot of the animation in this thing was directly ripped from Monty Python, and I don't know many 11-year-olds who were watching, BBC or Monty Python at that time. Once again, Frekella was featured in this movie, TV show, whatever it was. Not as heavily as in the, Escape from Orb. Dusty, likewise, a woman. And this is where Dusty, it's a strange little animal match, because the rule, unwritten, one I don't necessarily agree with, is that, you always have, one chick, one black guy. This was sort of, this was the era of that. So for them to actually do two, little strange. Welcome, but a little strange at the time. But they already gender bent Dusty. They could have just gone with her. Freakella's a different animal altogether too, because she never existed outside of this. She doesn't exist in nature, in the franchise as it stands today. She was never in the comic books by Star Comics. She was, just a creation for this, and she's such a weird character for them to springboard the entire, Madballs cinematic universe off of. It seems, and this is conjecture, admittedly, but it appears to me that some producer, some writer, the director, someone said, I'm going to put my stamp on this and create something new for the franchise. This is incredibly common everywhere and always. That said, she was not successful enough. The video was not successful enough. You don't know about her, I can guarantee. She never really was a main character in the franchise as a whole since then. So she remains very much, a moment in time, very much of these two videos. The other problem with her is that there's the, design and engineering. Her whole makeup does not a very good ball make. Because of that super long hair, or the straight up Bride of Frankenstein hair, she ain't gonna roll too far. So you've got a bit of an engineering problem here, where you could either have it maybe snake around her head, like actual snakes and other Madballs, or you could make it rooted. I don't know. Regardless, she would make for a weird toy, and it doesn't seem that anyone has ever even bothered to try. And speaking of all the rest, the final verdict. Madballs never really went away. They had a bit of a resting period in the 90s. However, in 2006, Art Asylum commissioned James Groman, who had worked on the original line way back when, to create, reimagined, but also new characters of Madballs. The series ran for a few, seasons. They had a couple of new characters. Very nice. Very nice. No Freakella. In 2016, Kid Robot fully just re-released the original Madballs in their foam form. All the original characters, not the complete set, but again, Frekella. In 2017, a number of studios got together and created a bunch of Madballs shorts that exist on the official Madballs Instagram, their official YouTube. They're very incredibly stylized, almost anime. There is some merchandise out there. They largely exist in a digital platform. Again, no Freakella. Lastly, for now, in 2020, Premium DNA Toys announced they would be doing the head-popping action figures of Madballs, taking the original action figures, plussing them up, a lot more paint, a lot more detail. They're gorgeous, and they've sort of, done a few of the originals, plus they've branched out to some new concept figures, plus just, the wider franchise of it all. They've really done some fun stuff in this realm, and I feel like this would be the time to do Freakella. You don't have to be terribly concerned about, the ball of it all. You don't have to be worried about the hair. And I feel like because she is a character that exists and was not made, this would be more fun and interesting for the designers, for the sculptors, to go out and do something that hasn't been made before, much like they have been doing. So I have hopes. If this video gets in front of their eyes, that'd be great. That said, I don't know who owns Freakella. I would assume, they would still own Madballs as a whole, regardless of, a cartoon series or not. But you never know. Especially with being, like, the Canadian Nelvana that made the cartoon series. Who knows, like, what weird, loopholes of contracts are out there. But nevertheless, I, being me, the owner of this channel, would love a Freakella figure. So I have hopes. And if not in this line, I think that's her last best bet. So there you are. So I thank you for watching. If you have, in fact, actually taken shots every time I said balls, you should call an ambulance. Please like, comment, share, and subscribe, and I will see you next time on MIA 80s Ladies.